School Board Member Pileski?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Massey?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston. That is 6-0 with one abstention. That brings us to item 4 of the agenda. Any adjustments to the agenda this evening? Seeing no adjustments. Item 5, any correspondence at this time? Seeing no correspondence, moving on to item 6, public session. At the moment, if there's anyone who would like to come up and speak before the school board, please come forward and be heard. Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Again, please come forward and be heard.
Am I allowed to take this off, Mayor? Okay. Could you please hand out the document that I gave you? Barbara Coleman, 386 Buxton Road, Saco, Maine. Dear Mayor, School Chair, School Board, and the public, there are 3 items that I'll be speaking about in this one statement. Management 101, policies and procedures, and safety concerns. Mayor, the school board and the administrator have been handed policy K1-R in an email provided, which is a statement from the fire marshal with additional comments added. For individuals at home, the policy K1 is on the school board website. As for the email, I will ask the school staff to post on the Facebook page redacted are portions of the email to protect the knowledge of individuals. Management 101 is basic. The superior does not reprimand an employee in a group setting, especially when students are present. Recently, an employee at one of the schools was berated in front of the staff because the individual was performing one of the tasks of their position, requesting the signing in of a visitor to that school. K1R states, non-employees of the unit must sign in and out. There is a reference to school unit. It is not pluralized, meaning all schools in the district are a unit. I am reading this policy to mean Young, Fairfield, Burns, and Saco Middle School each are their own unit. There is no differentiation on whether you are the President of the United States or the parent attending a meeting that has an infant with them. Sadly, the individual was the superintendent of the school, Jeremy Ray, being asked to sign in. And yes, I am calling him out in front of everyone. But remember, I'm not his superior. The school board members sitting at the diocese are. He is supposed to represent the Saco School Department with the dignity and decorum one expects of a person in this position. The logins and sign-in sheets are an important process if there is an emergency at the school. There could be a fire, an active shooter, etc. You will find attached the fire marshal's statement that makes mention in his email of a log of logs for individuals' schools. These sign-in sheets, teachers' attendance books, etc., are one of the first items staff gather when exiting the building and with their students. This allows each teacher or support staff to see if there remains anyone in the building. Additionally, in the world of COVID, it is even more important to know the individuals visiting the building. Tracing and outbreaks do not sound like fun, but are made easier if the person has signed in. I asked the school board to review the tape, if one exists, of the occurrence. If the information communicated to me is true, the employee deserves an apology from the superintendent and a thank you for the school board for performing their respective duties accordingly. And by the way, we are not Biddeford.
Thank you.
Susan Newmeyer, Wildwood Drive, for 30 years. Mayor Doyle, Interim Superintendent Ray, and school board members. Several items of concern have come to my attention since the last meeting on September 22nd at 5 o'clock. Several community members have reached out to me with the following concerns. First, inconsistent meeting times. The 5 o'clock time is inconvenient for many. It doesn't encourage citizen involvement. By contrast, the council meets regularly at 6:30 on Mondays. When I stopped by 90 Beach Street and asked about a meeting schedule, the receptionist told me that the times would flip-flop without a regular pattern. This is a grave concern to taxpayers who wish to be informed whether or not they have children in school. Second, at the last meeting, it was very difficult to hear certain individuals. People are here and at home, and they want to hear what you have to say. Please adjust your microphones accordingly. Thank you. Third, I was told that the building at 90 Beach Street will remain the location of the central office for Saco Schools. I asked if there would be specific times when administrators would be there. Once again, the person in reception that day said that both Interim Superintendent Ray and the Assistant Superintendent would have offices in the building. However, they would both be back and forth to Biddeford with no reliable schedule. How do concerned citizens know where to find them? And what is at 90 Beach Street now? Fourth, many citizens in the community express concern about the abbreviated UA classes, which are shortchanging the students of Saco when they really need them. After a year and a half of remote classes, these are more important than ever. I am well aware of the situation with bus driver shortages. It's not only a problem here, but nationwide, as we see on the news daily. A more thoughtful, collaborative solution for the benefit and well-being of the students is certainly preferable. Finally, the budget. The group which was hired under the platform of saving Saco taxpayers' money seems to be having quite the opposite effect. Highly salaried employees drive leased vehicles while teachers are spending their own money on classroom supplies. This is a costly mistake which never should have occurred. Do these individuals with leased vehicles reimburse the city for personal mileage use? Please show me how this arrangement is a cost-saving measure. These concerns raised to me by community members are the points I am mentioning to you this evening. They are precisely why Saco staff, students, and families deserve leadership that can give undivided attention to make good decisions on teaching and learning for Saco's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other folks like to speak to the school board? Please come forward and be heard. Seeing nobody seeking recognition, moving on to item 7, Superintendent's report. Superintendent Ray.
Couple of items for tonight. First of all, NWEA testing has started in our schools, and our students have been participating in those. That is, the NWA is replacing the state MEA test, so it's used by every single student in the state. Employee pool testing. The school committee took a big step several weeks ago in requiring employees to be vaccinated or in pool testing, and at this point in time, I believe we're looking at 2 employees that we are trying to make sure that they're in compliance on. So great job, Saco, on that. Pool testing for students is in the second week of having this kind of go off, and I'd say I'm very proud of the nurses and the pool nurses and the staff because it has gone off without a hitch, and our nurses will report on that in a few moments. Vaccine update. So we are working with Maine Health in this area to provide vaccines for students, 5 through 11, for parents who want those. And those, it appears that on October 26th, there will be the meeting of the FDA to see if they're going to allow the Pfizer vaccine. We anticipate if that's approved, that we would have the first couple of weeks in November that we would have vaccination clinics available for students. Now, it seems like what they're going to do is they're going to start with some regional clinics out there, and then maybe at some point get to the smaller schools. But it looks like they're going to put all their resource into regional clinics. A homeless grant. We were lucky enough to combine with Saco, Dayton, and Biddeford and receive an additional $33,000 a day from the state to put towards homeless youth. This has a very wide variety of ways to use it. We can put food on the table for families, and if they need it, help with rent assistance. So another great addition. Hiring. Hiring is something that is challenging. You drive down through every single corridor in the city, and you probably see help wanted signs. If you look on some of the electronic boards around town, you'll get to see a situation where it says Saco School Department looking for hiring, or Biddeford Saco Dayton looking for bus drivers or ed techs or whatever that is. And so we're trying to use as many different platforms as we can to get hiring out there, because it's just tough. You look in an applicant pool, you might have 0 or 1. If you're lucky, you have 1. We're also looking at seeing how we can get out on Saturdays to the rec department soccer fields, so we can have some booths there. Saco is having a fall festival there. We've also have the big billboard at Waterhouse Field. We'll put a hiring sign up so that we can just promote that we're looking for employees. We've also been working with USM and UNE to figure out how we can be on the list to have guaranteed placement for subs for students who would be kind of involved in work study, because they would take a work study job, but they need to make sure that they have committed days. And so we're going to take that process forward, because we don't have even close to nearly enough subs that are available to fill the jobs that are there. School construction update. October 20th at 6:30 p.m., we will have a public meeting to talk about what the state process looks like. That will be at Burns School in the cafeteria on Zoom. In that situation, we will be working with Oak Point that night, and Oak Point will be able to give that outline so that people can ask questions to say, hey, I heard this. Is this really what happens in the state funding process? Like, you need to have 20 acres of land is what they're looking for. So that should be a good opportunity for the public to put that out there. We have met 3 times since July with the DOE. We've had 4 site inventory meetings, and we've developed a draft which needs to be approved by the department of a ranking matrix, so that you can understand, like, okay, what are the things that you're looking for if you have to select a new site. In addition, last night we also had a program committee, and in the program committee, we'll be putting out all the ideas of all the different grade levels that you can kind of think of that will go into this building. And I think our list is at 10 to 12 right now, Meg? Okay. And so those will continue to meet. We'll get started with the public session next Wednesday night, 6:30, Burns School, so that you can ask questions about that. Just a couple of things that I want to mention about transportation schedule is that it is starting to improve. I know that our pre-K situation is starting to get much better with hiring. It's unfortunate that we have to shorten a little bit of the day at Burns School, but we can't get kids around. We can't have a pattern that's set up where you run transportation through one part of the city and back through the other piece. The other piece that I would address about just because it was mentioned, is that a reminder that we did approve leased vehicles here for the school department on a deal with Efficiency Maine for a total cost of $400. And the reason that we would have employees drive those is because we pay mileage at 56 cents, and over a 3-year period, $400 is a great buy. If we take that to Augusta 4 times, paid for the vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Ray. Any questions for Superintendent Ray? No questions.
Mr. Mayor, I have a quick question.
School Board Member Preble.
Do you have any information on the homeless rates? Have they gotten worse, gotten better throughout the school year?
So right now, between the 3 cities, we are upwards of 100. About 30 or 40 kids we're looking at in Saco, a little lower than that in Saco right now. Usually that October 1 tends to pick up on things when, there starts to be some of those seasonal rentals open up, and kids can go from community to community and would be classified as homeless in a winter rental. But, it's great that we have some partnerships and some grant funding to help families on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? School Board Member Pileski?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Superintendent Ray, could you clarify what you were saying about staff and vaccinations? Were you saying that only 2 are not vaccinated or only 2 are unknown?
So we have a situation where we have employees are either vaccinated or test, and we just have two individuals at this time that we're working on completing on the paperwork of whether they're going to be in the vaccination status or test status. So we're down to just 2 employees that we have to figure out. Everybody else has complied. It's outstanding.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, moving on to item 7, item 8, the Chair's report. Chair LaFortune?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Brings us to item 9, staff reports. There are no staff reports. Superintendent Ray?
No staff reports.
Item 10, board subcommittee meeting minutes. There are no meeting minutes to review. Brings us to item 11, old business. There is no old business before the school board. Brings us to item 12, which is new business. Item A, new hires. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman.
I move we approve the nomination of Jessica Howard, Saco Middle School teacher, and issue a teacher contract for the 21-22 school year.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Preble. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Pileski?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Massey? School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to item B of new business. That is a first and second reading of policy ACAF, workplace bullying. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Johnston.
I move we approve the first and second reading of policy ACAF, workplace bullying.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Johnston. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member,
I think it was Jeff.
we'll give it to School Board Member Richard. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Johnston?
I think it would be good to try and give a little background here, and I'm going to ask the superintendent to correct me or add anything. I'd like to remind the board that, and I don't know how loud I am, but I want to remind the board that we recently, a few months ago, voted to hire the MSMA to do a thorough inventory of our policies, which, as far as I know, and I would ask if I'm wrong, that hasn't yet been completed. Is that correct? Thank you. So nevertheless, things keep happening during that period of time. The policy, the strategic/policy committee has not really met in that interim, but I see now that I have helped for explanation. I had asked Mr. Indorf to give me sort of a background on this, and I'm sure he can explain it much better than myself, so.
Thanks, Beth. For new board members, I'm Chris Endorf. I work for the Southern Maine Administrative Collaborative. So as Beth mentioned, since the RSU dissolved, the school committee's been working diligently to update many of its legacy policies, but the legislature's been very active this year. Out of this session emerged 28 separate bills from the Standing Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs that impact schools, and those fall into basically one of 7 buckets: student health, discipline and safety, special education, school employment, contracts, collective bargaining, negotiation, school finance, retirement, and freedom of access. So as Beth mentioned, the MSMA has been contracted. I think we contracted with them effective July 28th to do a comprehensive policy audit of Saco's policies to look at what are out of date, out of compliance with the statute or rules promulgated by it, what's missing that's required by the state, what's recommended but not yet adopted by this board, and then to also consider those new laws and develop policies based on those. So we'll be bringing 2 to this board directly, one on restraint and seclusion, which isn't quite ready because our attorneys, the Department of Education and Maine School Management aren't quite in agreement yet on how that statute should be interpreted. But the second, as Beth mentioned, is this policy on workplace bullying. The statute that undergirds this policy is LD 880, which was passed this session and becomes effective on October 18. So it wasn't until about 3 weeks ago that we received this sample policy from our attorneys, which is why we're bringing it to you in this fashion. Otherwise, we'd run it through our standard process of having this evaluated and wordsmithed and sort of finessed by strategic. But this, quite simply, folks, is copied and pasted verbatim from the statute, and there isn't really a lot of negotiation here. So that's why we bring this to you in this manner. Does that help, Beth?
I think it does. I mean, you had communicated with me by email, so I have some more, visual to this than the rest of the board probably does. But, excuse me, but basically, we have to do it. We have to do it soon. And I think that if the board looks at, or anyone else looks at the cross-references, this is a policy. We have policies already in the books that are very similar, but as you explained it, I believe to me, Chris, this is a more comprehensive policy and clearly very specific to anyone involved with bullying any employee. So I think this is a timely thing for us to go ahead and pass tonight.
Thank you.
Just
School Board Member LaFortune.
a quick clarifying question. So in an instance like this, typically the language that we're given is fixed and that we don't have the liberty to modify it. It's essentially we get something based on what was in the statute or however they've drafted the policy at the state, and the job at this point is to take that as is and adopt it because we're required to by law.
Yeah, Kevin, I believe that if our attorney was here, they would say, this is boilerplate, we have vetted this, we believe that this board ought adopt this as written. Sometimes the board will add some additional language or some additional local guidance, but in this case, I would strongly encourage this board to adopt it as written. There isn't a lot of wiggle room. It's statutory. There is a nice list of what harassment isn't, what workplace bullying isn't. So there are a lot of protections that are afforded for employees in this language, but there's also some language that protects supervisors, program directors, and principals as well.
A follow-up question to that. So some of the other policies that Beth alluded to, I seem to recall in the past that they made reference to in terms of the reporting process, that you would report through the affirmative action officer, and that's not in this one. Is that ultimately the path that will likely go with some of these others, is to remove that? Or is there going to be a situation where that would be the reporting path for certain things, but not this?
Yeah, probably not appropriate here. This would really be a human resources or superintendent of schools reporting mechanism. Kevin?
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Questions? School Board Member Johnston.
I just want to thank Mr. Indor for coming and explaining that to us. It is a little complicated. and sort of a sudden thing for the board to, digest the information. So thank you.
And I do expect our audit to be completed by the end of this month. There is one lead principal investigator for MSMA who sort of organizes this work, and she's been very, very ill, and she's missed quite a bit of time. And so she is acknowledging and sending her apologies to the board that she's running a little bit behind. She's been sending me some stuff piecemeal, but Beth and I talked about the possibility of entertaining it as a slate rather than going through 80 some odd policies in a very piecemeal fashion. I don't think that would be helpful to this board. So we'll have an update next meeting, I think.
And Chris, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty extensive review that we're going to need to do.
Yeah, wholesale review of the manual. The board has done a lot of great work and has a lot of wonderful policy language, and we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but there are some missing required policies, and we have an activist legislature who takes a great interest in education. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not so good, but nevertheless, it does have an effect on this board's policies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Just one minor thing. I think we should, I don't think we need Chris. I think we would probably benefit from getting the policy committee meetings back on the calendar, and it sounds like it might behoove us to have them more frequently than, the once a month, once a quarter that we've done in the past.
Okay, roll call vote. School Board Member Pileski?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Massey?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to item C, a community meeting on state-approved construction projects. Superintendent Ray, I believe you covered this before, but it's also in the packet for school board members. Do you want to go over that again?
I think we've covered that piece before, but it's just information for the community and for the school, for the public and the school committee members so that we don't miss that important meeting. I don't know that I said that it was going to be on, we were going to use the Zoom platform, which again will allow people to be in webinar fashion. So if you have a question from home, you'll have the ability to turn your mic on, turn your camera on, ask the question, and get Oak Point or a member of the committee or myself to answer that.
Thank you, Superintendent Ray. And that meeting is October 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Brings us to item D, which is a COVID-19 update. There are 2 bullet points: federally mandated update on back-to-school health guidance and pooled testing data. Superintendent Ray.
So the first piece is part of the ESSER requirements and some of the federal funds is that from time to time throughout the year, we will have to give an update of when and if any of our policies within the district, whether it be around masking, back to 5, school closures, and continue to update people. As you can see from the memo, this is pretty much talking about the things that we have in place around CDC guidance, masking, our reopening plan, pooled testing, so that parents can still, notify them, you can still sign up, and that we will be working on vaccination clinics. In addition to that, I invited 2 of our nurses here tonight to give us a little bit of a rundown of how things are going health-wise and with pool testing, and I would like to ask Deb and Jess to please come up and introduce themselves and speak to the board.
Good evening. I'm Deb Malia. I'm the school nurse for C.K. Burns School. I'm also the pool testing coordinator, the person that kind of got it all going here in Saco, whether that's a good thing or bad, but we're pretty proud of it. I want to thank you for inviting us tonight. And Jess?
Hi, I'm Jess Morgan, the school nurse at Saco Pre-K, Fairfield.
I just want to start by saying that we're really happy with the way that this school year has started. All of the hard work that went on over the summer to make sure that we were able to maintain that 3-foot distancing, to make sure that classrooms could accommodate all of our kids 5 days a week. Our universal masking, our use of hand sanitizers, maximizing our outside space is really doing wonders in the school. We're really happy with the numbers and I understand that you were provided with some of those numbers ahead of time. Our numbers are much less than last year at this time, even though across the state, our numbers are far higher. I believe last year at this time, we were shocked with numbers of in the hundreds, like 126 a week. And now we're looking at anywhere from 600 to 900 a week. So we're happy that our schools are safe and that we're doing a great job. I want to put a shout out to our custodial staff because they are doing an amazing job of keeping our schools clean and safe for our kiddos. And to the parents. Our parents in this district are doing also an amazing job of screening their kids in the morning, not sending them to school when they're sick, and communicating with us so that we can follow up if a kiddo is sick. So I think all of these strategies are really helping us to keep our numbers down and keeping our kids in school 5 days a week. And we're seeing that the kids are happy with that, process as well. Pool testing started October 4th. There was a lot of work that went on behind the scenes to get that to happen. Our communication teams, our data, Stacy Nast, our data amazing person, really helped us a lot. We partner with a company called Concentric, and that company provides us with the testing supplies and does the lab work. We have a company, Lab Logistics, that picks up our samples. There's a lot of moving parts that happen with pool testing. We hired a couple of amazing staff members through SMAC that are managing it under me, and we have 11 very eager, awesome USM students that are hitting the ground running and helping us with pool testing as well as in the schools, helping us with other health issues as well. I have to say we've only had one as of 6 o'clock tonight. One positive pool, and we are running 120 pools across the district, just here in Saco. So I'm really excited about that, that we've only had one person, individual, test positive, and this is week number 2. So that gives us, and currently we have 925 students participating and almost 300 staff members. And people, as Jeremy said, we have people that are signing up every day. So we have more than 50% participation at this point and creeping up on more than 60. So we're very excited about those numbers. So thank you for allowing us. Jess is going to talk a little bit more about COVID, and if you have any questions about the process.
Like Deb said, I think the pool testing, the students did amazing that last week and this week. They were great at taking on that new role of coming in the classroom, doing the swab, making sure they were washing their hands or hand sanitizing before they did that. The teachers were great. They were amazing at helping us navigate that new role that we're all playing. So I just wanted to mention that the students and the staff were fantastic. Our numbers are going better this week. We have had a couple bumps in the road, but for the most part, with pool testing, it has enabled us to keep students in the classroom. So with that, we have had identified cases. With pool testing, we were able to, out of a classroom of 16, 5 students were identified needing to actually do quarantine for 10 days and be out of the classroom, versus the rest of the students were able to stay in the classroom, which was fantastic. So I think that pool testing is working. We are seeing the results and benefits of that, which is students being in the classroom 5 days a week.
Thank you very much. It's all great information. Any questions from the school board?
I just wanted to make a comment.
School board member Truman?
I just wanted to say thank you for doing this and making it painless, if you will. I signed my kids up and they were a little miffed with me, and the sticker really helped. The giant heart-shaped sticker was like a huge hit. So, and he said my youngest was like, it didn't hurt at all. I was like, no kidding. So just thank you for making it a fun experience and making them want to keep doing it, I guess. So thanks.
School board member LaFortune?
That's essentially what I was going to say, minus the part about the kids. was just to say thank you for all the work that you put into this. It's definitely starting to show some.
Deb did a great job organizing and orchestrating it because it was a huge undertaking, so.
And I would-
Worth the efforts.
I think one of the things that's important for people to understand is that our nurses this year, last year, the rules that came out from the DOE were very black and white. Like, you did this, you got this. This happened, you did this. And now there are just several layers of exceptions and gray areas that whether you're vaccinated, where you're in pool tested, where you're wearing the mask, is it school sponsored, is it not? And the nurses do a great job filtering through that piece. I think we communicate, email, text, whatever, quite often. But one of the challenges that I want to mention and explain to people that is sometimes hard for us to think about is that different school departments have different sets of ways that they do things. And when you think about the confusion that can happen for parents is difficult. And I give this example. Biddeford and Saco both have football for kids in the middle school level. In Biddeford, that is run by the school department, paid for by the school department. We know here in Saco, that is run by Junior Trojans. Both play in the same exact league, and both kids participate in pool testing. Yet, if there was an issue, Biddeford, because it's paid for by the school department, would not have to quarantine from an after-school activity, and because Junior Trojans is not a school department situation with pool testing, you'd have to quarantine. So our nurses are on the front line, and I use that as an example because people would say, that's interesting. How does that make sense? And our nurses are on the front line trying to explain those pieces to parents every single day. And that's just an example of one of many things that they have to do. And so I think we're really advocating to think about the processes, the SOPs, and how that we can make this clearer. And as vaccines become more available, that will help us. Masks have been a tremendous help, and now the pool testing. But because I think that as a parent, the hardest thing to do is to receive the call to say, oh, by the way, your kid's got to be home for the next 10 days. And that creates greater disruption. They're just settling into school, and then they're gone again. So kudos to all of our school nurses doing a great job.
I did just want to say also parents can sign up at any point, and if there's any question about signing up for pool testing, just contact your school nurse and we can walk you through the process.
Thank you very much. That brings us to item E, student enrollment counts, pre-K through 12, 9 through 12, special education costs. Superintendent Ray.
Just a second while this opens up. Okay, this is just on the first part, is an updated enrollment of where we are pre-K through 8th with 1,808 students. And again, a couple of situations, we have 14 new students and families who chose to homeschool this year. So our enrollment's down a little bit than what we would like it from a couple of years ago. But again, in the COVID-related times, it's difficult to figure out all the reasons why families have either in school, out of school, also with the amount of property sales over the course of the summertime, especially in Saco. House stays on the market for about 2 hours. And whether those are a situation where those have kids or not, that's hard. That's hard for us to gauge that piece. When we look at our enrollment for Thornton Academy, at this point in time, the number is 893. In the budgeting process that we have for TA, Jason, it was 931 that we budgeted for. So I provided an estimate. Obviously, we don't get the true tuition costs until about December, January when those come in. And you can see what the tuition costs would be, the increase, the IVF, the total, students who are on superintendent's agreements, and the state subsidy that we would get for that, that would be dollar for dollar. And so we, at this point in time, would estimate that we have a fair amount remaining in that line that could be encumbered and held for a next budget cycle, or actually 2 budget cycles. Any questions on enrollment?
I have a quick question.
School
So
Board Member
the-
LaFortune.
These are numbers as of right now. Is there any likelihood that they're going to fluctuate prior to when the count that we send into the state occurs?
No, that's pretty much what it is. We will have like some of the demographics piece that we still can lock in, like free and reduced lunch rates, but we're pretty solid right now.
Any further questions? Okay, moving on to item 13 of the agenda, other information. Any other information this evening? Seeing none, moving on. Item 14, there is no executive session. That brings us to item 15. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
School Board Member Truman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member LaFortune. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Pileski?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Massey?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to adjourn at 7:43 PM. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.